Welcome to the Chaos Radio Show. This is the voice of chaos. I think everything is working right. I double checked on my cellular device just to make sure there were no screw ups on this part. Go now, do now, Yankee Watchdog. Thank you. Yankee sees the beaver, the tactical
to the
beaver.
Chaos
Who's in the
Radio
chat
Show?
before we
This
get
is the
going?
voice
Hunt
of
Outdoors.
chaos. How you
I
doing,
think
Pilgrim? How
everything
are
is
you?
working right. I double
Broken,
checked
but
on my
FAFO,
cellular
Captain Silva,
device,
good morning.
just to make sure there were no screw ups
Dome
on
Seeker, good
this
morning.
part. Go
Chat is
now,
flying.
do
Wind
now,
flower.
Yankee Watchdog.
Excuse
Thank
me,
you.
Master Blaster, how
Yankee
we doing?
sees the beaver. The
Chat's flying
tactical
in my
beaver.
chaos
Who's in the
radio
chat
show?
before we
This
get
is the
going?
voice
Hunt
of
out
chaos.
chaos.
G Pucky,
How you doing,
Pilgrim? How
everything
is
is working right. I double
Broken,
checked.
Trinket, how you doing,
on my
man?
cellular,
No mistakes were made on my part other
just
than
to
I
make
was
sure
running
there were no
a bit
screw
late.
ups
Dome
on
Seeker,
this
pop
part.
up, son.
Go
Chat is
now,
Farm
do
Girl, how are
now,
you? Hot
Yankee
Rod
Watchdog.
Prepper. Excuse
Thank
me,
you.
Master
Zombie
Blaster, how
Punk
we
Yankee
doing?
sees
Rock
the beaver.
Broadway.
Chat
Flying
good
in
morning,
my
Good morning,
chaos
in the
radio
chat.
show.
This is the
Everybody.
voice of
It
G
would be
Pucky.
impossible to
Pilgrim.
shout out
Everything
everybody,
is working right. I
much
double
love,
checked.
Trinket, how you
on
doing,
my
man?
cellular.
We were talking
still
about
having
my part
invasion,
when I was
so
running
this
a bit
morning.
late. Don't
And it is coming
up,
soon.
son.
Go
Chat is
now,
Farm
do
Girl, how
now,
you? Hot
Yankee
Rod
Watchdog.
Prepper. Excuse
Thank
me,
you.
Master
Zombie
Blaster, how
Punk
we
Yankee
doing?
sees
Rock
the beaver.
Broadway.
Chat
Flying in my
Good
chaos
morning,
radio show.
right now.
Chaos.
It would
Screaming
be impossible
at
to
the
TV
shout out
screen
everybody.
is working right. I
Much
double
love,
checked.
Trinket, how you
on
doing,
my
man?
cellular.
You know, we were talking about my part
y'all
when
got
I was
make sure
running
this
a bit
morning.
late.
And it is coming soon.
San
Go
Antonio,
now,
Farm
do
Girl, how
now,
you? Hot
Yankee
Rod
Watchdog.
Prepper. Excuse me,
Thank you.
Master
All
Blaster,
red
how
Yankee
we doing?
sees
Rock
the beaver.
Broadway.
Chat
Flying in my
good
chaos
morning,
radio show.
right now. Chaos.
Screaming
Impossible
at the
to
shout out
TV
everybody.
is working right. I
Much
double
love.
What about now? Can you hear me now? Is this better? Is this better? Huge audio issue. Did that fix it? 10 by 10. I don't understand what's going on here. Obviously. Huh. What about now, guys? Perfect. Thank you. Dynamite says your intro keeps replaying over you. Sorry about that. Hopefully this fixes it. Okay, so, oh my God, the chat is like a Boeing without crashing here. Sorry about that. We will eventually, we'll get it done eventually. I had another window pulled up on YouTube. So what is going on lately? Don't know. Don't know about that, Darren. An invasion is coming to the United States of America. It is coming very, very soon. When this invasion comes, hopefully they get to the Ponderosa and they show me how to set up stuff correctly. I really need an audio tech person, video tech person, whatever it is called. But my daughter is in the bed right now. School is out for the summer and she's being lazy. So I hear what everybody out there is saying. People are screaming at their devices right now. John, there's already an invasion, son, here in the United States of America. It's already taken place. And I get it. I really, really do. Blossom Beauty, good morning. And we're going to get to that as well, because it makes this this whole deal much stranger. To have an invasion coming across the border, but be preparing for a different kind of invasion altogether. So the WHO, the WHO, and I'm not talking about the band, son. It's before my time, to be honest with you, has drafted what they call a pandemic treaty. Now, this is not brand new news. They've been working on this for the past couple of years, but it is very close to passing internationally. And they've been meeting about this all week while people have been out here, you know, stockpiling Olight flashlights because they've seen them on this channel, or Nutrient Survival, or they've been doing this. They've been paying attention to Stormy Daniels. They have been working on this pandemic treaty. You know what I'm saying? And this thing is a mess. This is the best way to describe this to anybody that's not familiar. This is a medical-based Patriot Act, but this thing would be international. This would not just affect the United States of America. It is unconstitutional, I believe, Pilgrim, and we're going to get into that as well. But what this does is it forces countries to cooperate with the WHO methods. Again, not the band, right? The medical organization. Their methods during the next pandemic that they seem to be awfully worried about. What are their methods exactly? They want changes to international health regulations. All right. Now this stuff is it's kind of vague, and I did a lot of digging around, and I cannot find many specifics. So good luck with that. They want more tracking of data, and they want more pushing of, shall we say, the whiskey shots the next time around. They don't think countries did enough to push that on people. They don't think that there was enough contact tracing, this sort of thing. People had too many rights during this last pandemic. So the U.S. Health Secretary, this is one of those things that flies under the radar, again, while everybody's enamored with the NBA playoffs and Stormy Daniels. The U.S. Health Secretary sees the treaty agreement as being close to finalized. There are a couple of holdout countries. The United States is not one of them. The U.S., shockingly, the Biden administration is ready to sign off on this. There are two countries. One I know is in South America somewhere. The other one, I'm not sure who it is right off, somewhere in Europe, but they're just not totally on board. They want to make sure, and the reason they're holding out is not people's rights. They want to make sure that the new whiskey shots, the new cures that roll out for the next pandemic, are distributed equally. It doesn't matter how much money your government has, and they don't think it's going to be fair. And here's another direct quote from the Health Secretary of the United States. Would be a tragic It would be tragic for the world to miss out on key reforms. All right. So again, you want specifics? Good luck. Speaking of the NBA playoffs, right? Good luck. You want specifics? Good luck. I could not find very many of them whatsoever. I dug around on the WHO's own website. I cannot find a copy of the actual pandemic treaty. Now they are talking about this behind closed doors. Of course, they allow the media in, but the media is not giving specifics on this. These are the people that represent all of our countries, and they are trying to sign our rights away wholesale, and we don't even know what we're being signed up for. We don't know the 100% particulars here, okay? So I did find that they want strengthening of surveillance here in the United States of America specifically. If you're not complying, they want to know who you are so they can take care of you, son. They're not putting up with it the second time around. The WHO also wants the ability to declare health emergencies and then at that point shut down trade and travel, which, if I'm not mistaken, is literally what Donald Trump tried to do at the beginning of the last pandemic and was called a racist. I can remember. He was saying we don't need to allow people from this region in, this region in, this region in, and now they're pushing for it, and now all of a sudden it is not racist somehow. This treaty is under fire, according to the WHO, by right-wing critics. There you go, Pilgrim, who say that it's unconstitutional, to your point, and that right-wing critics are saying this is ceding authority to the WHO, which I'm totally in line with that, Pilgrim. I don't see how this is legal. You know, we have rights. We're guaranteed rights. We're supposed to have representation. Now, that can be heavily disputed, but nowhere do I remember our representation having the rights to take our rights and hand them off to a government agency. You understand what I'm saying? And so isn't this treaty by default illegal? And they're saying, us nasty right wingers, man, it's always us right wingers. We're always the problem. that we don't want UN soldiers going door to door forcing a cure. We should be excited because the next pandemic that rolls around, if they have a cure, if they whip up a cure in 2 months, we should be excited. We should be lining up. So let me break it down to you on a fundamental level. We were just talking about people that have crazy COVID eyes. The masked up, they're gloved up at the gas station, or you'll see them with the gauntlet gloves on and the mask, N95, and they're just walking down the sidewalk by themselves. These people, the ones with the eyes doing this all around, right? They want us to hand our rights over to people like that. If people like that are in charge during the next pandemic, what do you think you're going to be forced to do? That's a question for the chat this morning. What do you think you're going to be forced into at that point? These people don't care. These people were on social media last time around. They were ready to load us on trains, lock them up, get them out of here, force them, go door to door. These people are the problem. We're ready to get back to normal. These holdouts are costing humanity, right? They ain't going to play nice, man. And the WHO is not, I'm sorry, they're not here to help. They did a horrible job the last time around, right? So that's strictly my opinion, which brings us back full circle here to the border invasion. Because the WHO's entire reasoning behind this is tracking. We need to know who's sick, who's not sick. We need to know where these illnesses are at, right? If tracking is really the concern, and they said for the sake of humanity, that's a direct quote from the WHO website, then who are these people coming across the border? We don't know anything about these people. We don't know, forget the fact that don't forget it, but just shelve it for a second. They're breaking the law. A lot of them are criminals. They've got criminal records. This has been proven. You got Chinese nationalists coming across the border. We know all this already. But what kind of illnesses are they bringing into the United States? How can you lock down travel and an economy, nail people inside their homes if they're not willing to get the next whiskey shot, or load them on train cars because they won't comply, while at the same time you're just allowing these people to come in, flooding in? We don't know what they got. How does this make sense in a sane world? And how are more people not paying attention to this? And how are more people not questioning this? Nobody's really questioning the WHO. Sorry, both wings of our government seem to be on board with this. If you're now, there are a few MAGA people in Congress that are questioning it, but not enough. Most of your rhinos are like, yes, sign us up for the sake of humanity. They keep bringing this up on their website, right? Pandemics, and let me just say this, pandemics typically happen once a century, once every 100 years, give or take a little bit, historically speaking. So what is the rush? Why are they trying to jam this illegal legislation through this illegal international body, I would argue? I'm going to tell you what happened, okay? This is purely speculation on my part. I need to say that. But listen, this is what I think happened. All right. We had the C19, which is a strain of flu. It's undeniable. All of your COVIDs are actually flus. Okay. It was a different strain of the flu. And it was a nasty strain. It is real. There ain't no doubt about it. I have had it twice, probably more than that. But the first time it almost killed me. All right. So it is real. But they took this and they ran with it and they tested it against people in freer countries like Australia, like Great Britain, like France, like the United States, like Canada. They tested this thing out to see what people were willing to put up with. How much can we get on the American people? How hard can we fleece them into compliance? Some of you have said, hey, it was a trial run. Again, I think this thing was real, but I think there's some truth in the whole trial run. They were testing the waters to see what people are willing to put up with. Because I believe in my heart that they're going to introduce something again very soon. Another pandemic level event. And this time they're going to push even further. And they're trying to jam this treaty through so they can point to this and say, you have to comply because we have this international treaty that's been signed by your government. And they even go on to say on the WHO's website, they say, you know, we're not trying to take rights away from people. Your own governments are signing up for this. So you're represented. I don't trust the government. Are you kidding me? I don't trust the CDC in 2024. I don't trust Joe Biden and them. I don't want them speaking for me on medical decisions. Joe Biden has got enough medical stuff going on. I certainly don't want him in charge of my medical stuff and signing me up and making things mandatory. This past time it was, well, you'll lose your job. You'll lose the ability to go to the theater. You can't go to concerts without this. You can't go to sporting events without this. Folks, the next time this happens, they're going to have this treaty in place. And they're going to give you one of two options. You can take this or you can come with us. And we can get on the back of the magic truck here. And where that magic truck takes you, I don't know. I really don't. But they're not going to allow you to skirt by this time around without complying. Promise you that. Any comments on that before we move forward here? Any? Fran. My daughter-in-law works for Kroger, and they got an email yesterday saying to prepare because another virus is coming. Probably so. It's ridiculous. I mean, there are a couple of that are passing around right now. But again, I think the WHO's going to blow them way out of proportion. And also, again, if another virus was spreading internationally, you would think we would shut the border down and limit who is coming into this country. But they really don't care about that. That is just the excuse that they're going to use to take people's rights away. You're not willing to comply, you can't buy a gun. You're not willing to comply, you can't use social media. This rabbit hole goes deep. Y'all don't understand. You're going to have to become completely Amish to avoid it this time around. And most people in America are going to sit on their bums and they're going to watch it happen to other people. This is probably the biggest thing that the WHO picked up last time around. So, moving on to Boston Mayor Michelle Wu. And I cannot help myself this morning. Do we have any wrestling fans in the house? I saw this name, Boston Mayor Michelle Wu.
Silent.
I had to do it, son. Hopefully that played for y'all, that little snippet there. So Michelle Wu, again, the esteemed mayor of Boston, total communist in my opinion. But, you know, that's my opinion. Who cares, right? She has introduced the idea of three different things in her city, right? There you go, Rock Broadway. She wants the gang registry in the city to be abolished. We don't need to know who's in a gang or who's gang affiliated in Boston. Because why would we need to know that, right? Criminals should not be prosecuted for theft in Boston. And non-citizens, that's one way of putting it. I still call them illegals, but it is what it is. Non-citizens should be allowed to vote in local elections. These are the three things that the Boston mayor is trying to accomplish. All of the problems taking place in Boston right now. And she doesn't want people, because they're stealing out of necessity, you see. When they go into a local grocery store and they snatch $200 worth of food, which ain't a lot, you know, 6 or 7 items in Joe's America, and they bolt, just let them go. It's not really theft. You understand? We can't prosecute them anymore. It's not theft. These people are stealing out of necessity. And again, the gang registry, like this seems like something you would need to know. You would need to know who the really, really bad people are in your city, I would think. But I don't live in a big city, so I don't really know. And non-citizens voting in local elections, what could possibly go wrong? With an entire group that's not even supposed to be here in the first place, either not working or working under the table, not paying into the system, deciding how the tax money is spent for that city. What could possibly go wrong? She goes on to say, and these are direct quotes, I want law enforcement in the city demilitarized. Again, that's a communist tactic. And another direct quote, police should not have the ability to use tear gas, rubber bullets, and dogs. So I would have to ask, because you can't use guns, you can't use rubber bullets, you can't use tear gas, you can't use dogs. What can you use? These are police officers become hall monitors at this point. You know, you can shame people. You can maybe use dirty words. I don't know. What can you possibly use? What are the police supposed to do? Get their phones out and start filming like everybody else does when a crime is being committed and try and shame them online? I don't understand what is going through these people's minds in Boston. Because again, this lady was elected. She's there, unlike Zelensky, she's legitimate at this point. We'll get into the whole Zelensky thing some other time. And I asked myself, I saw the story and I said, what would have happened 60 years ago, I wonder? If a mayor of a city would have proposed something like this here in the United States of America, what would have happened? They probably would have ran this person out of town. This person would have been bound and gagged and put on a fishing boat to Taiwan. They would have kicked him out of the country. People would not have permitted this 60 years ago. I saw something on Instagram, and it's relevant to this topic and many other topics. And I saw this, and I can't take credit for it, but I saw this, and it was such a poetic way of putting it, okay? When we're talking about the United States of America in 2024, your bigger cities, sure, but it's also happening in rural America. Let's not fool ourselves, okay? Can't run from what's happening at this point. You're just delaying the inevitable. What I saw was America as we know it is a corpse. The old America that we grew up in and that we studied about in school, and we were taught about patriotism and all of this stuff and the values, don't steal, don't lie, don't cheat, all this stuff. America is a corpse. Democrats are cheering for the maggots. Republicans are cheering for the corpse. And I thought that was pretty powerful because no matter which side you're on, no matter who you're cheering for, same end result. America as we know it is dead. And the more people that wrap their minds around that, the quicker things can get done, one way or the other. You understand? It's an analogy. Democrats are cheering for the things that are totally destroying the country, that's already a corpse. Republicans are sitting back, cheering for the country that doesn't exist anymore, and hoping that it somehow overtakes the maggots. It's been dead for a while, folks. We are transitioning into something else as a nation. And again, if people would just realize that, we could get into transitioning into something better, maybe, instead of just, again, laying with the corpse and trying to coach it back to life. It's gone. It's gone. I'm sorry. And if you stay in a city like this, Boston is not the only city here in the United States that is dealing with stuff like this. Look at San Francisco. Look at New York City. If at this point in the game, if you stay in a liberal city like this, and you know this is what these people are doing, you know these are communists that are in office that are destroying it from the inside out, you deserve Mad Max. I've had people reach out and say, "Oh, I'm stuck in New York City and it's like a war zone." Well, get out. Get out. What do you want me to tell you? You want me to hold your hand and tell you everything's going to be okay? It's not going to be okay. New York City's lost. Boston's on its way out. Seattle, Portland, Los Angeles, these places are gone, man. These are not the cities that you grew up in. This is not the country that we grew up in, and that's real talk. And the more people put that off and deny, the worse it's going to get for everybody. I don't know. So we got to talk about the Trump trial. Not a whole lot because it's mostly distraction, but the Trump trial, it's now in the hands of the jury. So who knows? It's totally up in the air. I don't know anything about the jurists or anything like that. I know they had trouble finding jurors that didn't hate Trump out of the gates. So I don't really like his chances, but we'll see. We'll see. Um, Here's my takeaway from this because it can go a lot of different ways, okay? Everybody's sitting back waiting with bated breath, except for maybe Stormy Daniels. She's probably busy working. Who knows? If Trump is on all 50 ballots in November, the needle will not move. This trial is not going to move the needle one way or the other because you have extreme supporters, and you know who you are. Yeah, De Niro is a lunatic. Why do we care what people from Hollywood think anyway, Pilgrim? You know what I'm saying? You have the extreme supporters, and they don't mind telling you. If Trump's in a jail cell, I'll vote for him. If they put him on a prison ship, like that Escape Plan movie with Stallone in them, if they put him on one of these ships, I'll vote for him. They put him on a rocket ship, send him to the moon. If he's on the ballot, I'm going to vote for him because it's Donald Trump. They've been waiting to vote for this man since the last election was announced, the results or whatever. And you're always going to have the group that is totally deranged and they just hate Donald Trump. He could cure multiple diseases, he could end world hunger, he could stop all of the wars overnight, and these people would not be satisfied because they literally, with every fiber of their being, they're deranged and they just hate the man who is Donald Trump. These groups are not going to change their minds based on any court case, including this one. That's my personal opinion on that. If Trump loses this trial, he could face jail time, which means, again, if he's on all 50 ballots, he may be sitting in a jail cell. Like, it would be unprecedented at this point. But I don't think he's going to withdraw as a candidate. I think he would be sitting in solitary confinement, writing speeches to smuggle out to get on X or whatever, Truth Social. If Trump wins this court case, Biden is toast. Biden is toast. This is the last lifeline that old bloodsucker has left. If Trump is because listen, if Trump comes out and he doesn't go to jail and they're like, oh, this, he wins the case, basically, this is going to give a man with a lot of momentum already a ton more of momentum. Biden smoked at that point, and you can expect at that point a replacement candidate to be installed and Joe Biden to be removed. I would think that would be the perfect time. If Trump wins this trial, you're going to see a flip flop here. Again, I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be old Big Mike. I don't know if it's going to be Liz Cheney. She's still on the outside looking in. They could swoop Kennedy and say, come on, just go ahead and join the Democrats. You're already pretty much one of us anyway. It could be old Gavin Newsom, Slick Newsom. Who's to say? But I don't think that they're going to ride the Joe Biden Kamala Harris train all the way to November, knowing full well they're going to get smoked at that point. But this goes beyond just Donald Trump. This goes beyond the man Donald Trump. It always has. That's the thing about Trump. When Trump first came down that escalator, And I'm not disillusioned. I know he's got privileges and he's never experienced what most normal people experience, right? But he just gave off vibes like he understood. He started speaking in a way that appealed to the average American who had been forgotten. And since that time, I think it has been what the people demand here in the United States of America, the actual Americans, right? The ones who are working, the ones who are paying taxes, the ones who still believe in the American dream, versus what the swamp will allow. I think it's always been that. You know, that's the thing, right? He's a populist. He's not a Republican, he's not a Democrat, he's not a libertarian. Libertarians boot him out, by the way. He's a populist. Donald Trump sails whichever way the wind blows in terms of what the people want. The people want their country back. This is why he's polling so high. Some people don't like Donald Trump, the man, but they like the platform and they want to vote for the platform because they see people like this Michelle Wu. They see people like Gavin Newsom destroying the country, and they're not blind. They see the prices of things when they go into the store. They see all of the wars that we were warned about. If Trump wins, we're going to all these wars. We didn't go to war under Donald Trump. Now that we have Biden, we're entangled in all kinds of this stuff. You have people that are not blind, right? But Trump, at the end of the day, he's a populist. And this is why he appeals to so many Americans. And this is why Joe Biden, I think, is smoked. But what will the swamp allow? That's the question, because the swamp is not just going to hand control back to the people. That's not how it works. That's why this WHO thing, this treaty, this pandemic treaty, really has me concerned, because this is a major card that they can play. If this treaty is signed prior to Donald Trump regaining the White House, if that were to happen, we would still be forced to comply with an illegal treaty unless Congress got together and voted it out. And they're not going to do that. They don't get along. You understand? This is problematic because we could see another pandemic shortly after Trump gets in office, shortly after everything begins to crash anyway, and we could be forced to comply, even with Donald Trump as president of the United States. And think about it like this: if the leading conservative candidate is somehow disqualified because of this trial, what choice do you actually have in November? For the folks that are out there that I'm voting Trump, Trump 2024, what choice do you have at that point? Do you roll the dice on Kennedy? Do you cast a vote for Big Mike, or who would they swoop in for Trump at this point? Mike Pence? Um, Nikki Haley? What choice do you have in November? I don't know. But I do know this is what they want you, the American worker out there, to do from here on out. They want you working hard and paying taxes. They want you to keep your head down. They want you to keep your mouth shut. And they want you to accept the inevitable, which is, again, the country that you grew up knowing and loving is a corpse. It is being replaced with something else. And they just need you to fund the entire process before you're gone and totally replaced. That's my opinion anyway. Y'all let me know what you think in the comments. Take care and God bless.